Welcome to JUCO Jam. This is season 3, episode 3. This is the one with Joe Kuligoski, which is really exciting. But with me, as always, Brandon Goble, the JUCO advocate himself. Brandon, it's been way too long.
Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you for
We
joining
had an
us today.
entire holiday since last time. There was food,
So
there
much
was
food.
there was napping, there was crazy amount of JUCO basketball, which is great.
Who
So,
knew the best part of Thanksgiving week was going to be the Thanksgiving Classic in Pensacola?
yeah, I mean, we kind of figured that, but yeah.
So let's do a rewind. We're going to do a rewind a little bit different this week because it's our rules. We're going to start with Saturday night in the Jayhawk. Cali with a minor upset. They go into Barton. They beat Barton 70 to 65. Ironically, Cali was the last team to beat Barton on the same game last year before Barton ran the table. I'm sure Coach Combs would take those same results again. But for Cali, Marcus Ziegler led the way with 24 points, 4 out of 9 from 3-point range. Shamari, is it Hugie? Huggy, Hugie. They call him Slim. Coach
Yeah.
Jackson calls
Oh,
him
I'm Slim.
Slim.
Yeah.
Slim
It's true.
had 19 and 11. For Barton, returnee Dre Kindle, 22 points, also 4 of 9 from three, a balanced Cougar attack, five guys in double figures as a team, 18 turnovers, which is a little uncharacteristic. But after 2 weeks, only three teams remain undefeated in your Jayhawk conference. It's going to be Cali at 4-0, Butler, the Fighting Nitschkis at 3-0, and Coach Herkelman and Coffeyville also at 3-0. Cali Barton, great Saturday night game, Brandon.
Yeah, really, really good game. Kind of one of your traditional Jayhawk, slugfests. By the way, saw a picture, I believe it was from the game that Cowley used, whatever. Coach Jackson's beard is just incredible. Like it's everywhere and it's amazing and I love it so much.
Great beard.
Yeah, I mean it's the best beard in all of sports. Um, so yeah, another great game. Loaded up talent in that game too. And Cowley kind of coming from the back a little bit to start the season, wasn't sure, what they were going to have, but clearly a very, very, very good team again for Coach Jackson.
Life after Jeff Nwankwo, Corey Thomas. They had some really good players last year, but they returned some guys who have stepped up. And if there was a junior college slam dunk event, Avante Nichols from Cali has an unfair leaping advantage over 99.9% of humans. On Sunday, we're going to talk briefly about it just because it was already on the list. Mineral Area versus Vincennes, a game played in front of like four fans because it was snowing in Olney,
Yeah.
Illinois. It was a classic that Olney did not play in on Sunday, which made for a really weird environment. Mineral gets a big win. Preston Turner was really, really good for Mineral with 22 points. Mineral is now 8-3 and improving pretty quickly under first-year head coach Tony Irons. I think it's going to be a really good, interesting second half of the season with Mineral, Moberly probably jockeying back and forth to see who is the best team in Missouri, who will probably ultimately face Triton for a bid to the national tournament.
Yeah, kind of a weird year for Vincennes so far. I read the article after the game from Vincennes, and there were some, quotes from coach in there that you can definitely read the frustration in what he's saying, finding consistency, finding guys that want to compete. And if we know anything about Todd Franklin, if you're not competing and you're not fighting, you're not playing. And so, trying to find that right mix. But Vincennes, like always, is one of those teams that I sure don't want to be playing against them come January, February timeframe when he's got it all kind of figured out.
If it's possible, Coach Franklin will get it figured out. That's kind of where I stand there, and it's a great opportunity for those kids to get to play for him because if they listen to him, good things generally happen. But the event of the week, the Pensacola State Thanksgiving Classic, amazing. 10 teams, eight of the 10 teams have been ranked or received votes at some point during the course of the year. So you have the five Panhandle schools. You have some East Texas schools, Trinity Valley, Panola, Lamar State, Port Arthur. Shout out to Lance Madison. We went to the same middle school. Bet you didn't know that. Shout out to the Reveille Patriots. Um,
The research
Joan,
department here at the JUCO Jam is crazy. How
yeah. We have Jones out of Mississippi, very talented team. and then the 10th team was Daytona. Just high level thoughts, Brandon. What did you think about this 3 day event?
I want more of these throughout the year in junior college. We've got to find a way for a number of reasons. Cost savings being one of them, right? Like it's expensive to do things these days. So more of these reduced travel costs allows teams to get in more games against good quality programs, less prep schools and JVs and things like that people, oh, we can't travel because, so we got to go play these three prep schools around us. Fine. Like let's have more of these sorts of things. Because this only draws positive attention to junior college. It draws positive attention to the players. It helps with recruiting. It will alleviate some of those costs, for the teams that can go and get in 3 or 4 games in a short time frame. Now, is that ideal to do consistently? No, but you know what? It's junior college. Like we're going to do stuff differently anyways. I would not be opposed to a team going and playing in like 3 of these things throughout the year. Get your almost your entire non-conference schedule in some sort of classic that's available for you to play real teams, and let's kind of do away with some of the other nonsense that we play in. That was really kind of my first thought when I saw this. And you got the East West Challenge and you've got some of these other really good ones, so immediately uh coaches started hitting me up. I hit up some other coaches just to talk about like, hey, can we get some more of these things going next year in some different regions around the country that are accessible for teams to get to? Because there are teams too that will host these things that have money that say, look, we would rather spend our money bringing in a bunch of teams, having a great environment, having, now look, we get home games, but it is what it is. We're the ones with the money, right? They would rather do that, spend money to help teams get there, than go on the road and play some of those games that, just don't mean anything. So,
I think it's great for junior college basketball. So obviously the biggest winners were junior college basketball fans and the kids who got to play in the games. But just when you think about the event, the 10 teams that were there, who did you think was the biggest winner or the biggest winners that you kind of take away from that event?
um, I mean, Trinity
Ooh,
Valley, yeah, Trinity Valley, obviously the big winner, right? But it was more than just like going in and getting wins. It really was showing uh the coaches that were there to scout, the people that were watching online, the teams that were there. I mean, all the teams that were there were talking about, um, holy smokes, like this team is loaded, loaded. And, for Coach Hire to go into that environment and just, you know, have them clicking on all cylinders like it's February in, late November, that was pretty impressive to see.
I want to give a little love to Daytona State with Coach Joey Cantons. They lost 2 games early at CSI, at Northwest Florida, close games, and they went out and they played good people. So I think they've maybe been unfairly penalized in the poll for that. But they played 2 games this week. They beat Gulf Coast by 21. They beat Tallahassee by 19. I thought Daytona State looked exceptional. I felt like from where they were when I watched them play CSI to where they are today, you have seen the drastic improvement that they have made in 1 month. And I think that the fact that they're out and they're playing good competition compared to other teams in the Citrus Conference, I would watch out, Citrus Conference.
Yeah,
Falcons
I think
are
they've
rising.
positioned themselves to as long as they can keep doing what they should do, they'll jump up those polls fairly quickly. Whereas, some of these other teams, either because they slip with losses or they're just not playing anybody, Daytona will start doing some leapfrogging. And I think that's going to be the case for a number of these teams that are maybe in the back half of the poll receiving votes, but they've got good solid games coming up. They've played good solid non-conference. That stuff is going to matter when it starts coming voting time and rubber meets the road here. Because if you've not played anybody, but you've been the benefactor of some voting and stuff like that, when you slip and you've not played anybody, then that's when it's really going to hit you, and that's where teams like Daytona can, rely on the fact that they did play good games.
Anyone that you want to call out as your biggest loser or biggest surprise of the event? This
Oh
is a
man,
safe place. It's just us talking.
yeah, the Northwest Florida was interesting to me because surprise is like the wrong word, but Maybe impressive surprise. I don't know. After
It was
after
the best of times. It was
it
the
was
worst of
worst of times,
times.
but opposite. It was the worst of times. It was the best of times because they got decimated by Trinity Valley.
Greg
Like,
Hire just ripped their face off.
yeah,
Up,
yeah. I mean,
up 30 points in a heartbeat.
that game was 20 plus for the majority of the game. But then for them to bounce back and get that big win against Panola, uh, you know, like surprise is not the right word because it's Coach DeMayo and he knows what he's doing and he's a good coach. And for him to bounce back and get that win was very impressive. And I just thought that was, that would have been an opportunity for them to say, well, I guess we're just not what we thought, and we're going to go home and just get hammered by Panola, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I think part of that is, Davion Hill played against Panola, did not play against Trinity Valley, and he was tremendous in that game. And Dwayne Pierce was very good as well. So that's going to conclude the rewind. If we shall, let's transition to the rundown where we take a look at this week's top 10 games. Uh, South Georgia State has a really busy week. And you can't say that too much about South Georgia State because they haven't played too many games so far. But Tuesday, the undefeated South Georgia State goes and they play Chipola. And I thought Chipola was really one of the surprises of the week. I think Chipola looks poised, to win the Panhandle. And you don't want to bet against Donnie Tyndall anyways. But South Georgia State versus Chipola, this is a really interesting game. Maybe a chance for South Georgia State to, put their stamp in it and say, hey, we should be part of this top 25 as well.
Yeah, I think you don't want to bet against Donnie Tyndall, and
Bet against Donnie Tyndall.
it's definitely it feels like one of those teams where he's not going to have uh the big star, the guy that's the high majors are recruiting or whatever. He's just going to go in there with a bunch of really good players that are coached really hard, that are kind of prepared for anything, and they're going to try and punch you in the face pretty early and see what happens. And that's if there's a team that I could see, poking into that top 6 or 7 here pretty quick, after the next couple weeks, I could definitely see it being Chipola.
Absolutely. Wednesday night, a couple of good games. Barton at Butler, Cochise at Eastern Arizona. Cochise just beat Howard. Eastern Arizona is in this weird situation where they're just trying to get any sort of notoriety and stuff that they can. They're playing all Division I games. Really a huge game for the Gila Monsters Wednesday night in Thatcher.
Yeah, like we've talked about this a lot, you and I and Cody and the other people we talked to about junior college basketball. Not our spouses, oddly enough, but it's fine, whatever. This is a great
I've talked to my
opportunity.
spouse about it, but she doesn't respond.
Yeah, yeah. No, I talked to her about it. She just pretends I'm not there. This is a good opportunity for Coach Turner to just kind of keep that pedal down and say, look, we've played all these games. We're 9-1, 10-1, whatever they are. Um, and this game has a little bit of an extra shine to it, I think, because of that um, pretty good Howard win that Coach East got. And so if the Gila Monsters can take care of business there, then they'll have made their point. But Coach East not to be trifled with by any means. Well coached, always produces good players. This should be a good game.
Friday night, I'm going to give you a triple play to choose from. I'm sure it's marked on everyone's calendars already. We have Eastern Florida at South Georgia State, North Idaho, who I think is an absolute sleeper in the Scenic West at Howard, and then Indian Hills goes down to Level Texas and plays South Plains. I believe South Plains will be without maybe their best player in Isaac Taveras, but Caleb Blackwell is back from an ankle injury and doing well. Friday night, what are you most excited about? I'm assuming you're thinking Indian Hill South Plains is where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean South Plains definitely not the team that they were on day one. Just missing some pieces and through injury and things. But it's going to be a rocking game. I mean, it's two blue bloods of junior college basketball. Cole Dewey's done a fantastic job in year one at Indian Hills. He's got them playing really well. Basically a buzzer beater, half court, not even basically, a half court ish. buzzer beater to lose to a great Butler team away from being undefeated. So that should be a really, really good one. And then North Idaho, like you said, is a sleeper team, I think, only in the national scheme of things, just because it they're kind of newer back to being in the NJCAA and people not really.
You're on double secret probation, like no one can
Yeah,
publicly.
yeah. Von Weems is unbelievable. So really excited to see him. Now Howard has taken their lumps, but there are some guys that are starting to play a little bit better on that team. They've had some injuries and stuff that have unfortunately had a significant impact on them, but that's going to be a really tough game.
Saturday, great day for junior college basketball. Indian Hills versus Frank Phillips. Frank Phillips under first year coach Hunter Jenkins really trying to maybe come onto the scene as a national power there at Frank Phillips because it's not a team that rolls off the lips as a JUCO blue blood. But Coach Jenkins does a great job. Daytona State versus Chipola, Panola versus Lee, and then Triton at Vincennes. What are you most excited about on Saturday?
I think that Daytona Chipola game is going to be fantastic. That's a great statement opportunity for either one of them. And
Contrast of styles too.
say what?
A contrast of styles.
Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be fun to see who can kind of wrestle control of that. And yeah, you're right. Coach Jenkins and Frank Phillips, this is a big time opportunity for him and his squad. They've got great players. Matty Troyer just committed to Washington the other day. They're getting recognition. They're receiving a lot of interest in the polls, and people expect them to be good. So this should be a good one. And there's going to be kind of some positional matchups there where Frank has a loaded up front court, a lot of size. Indian Hills has some size and length, but it's really kind of more in the wing position. And so, those bigger guards and kind of how is that going to match up with the differences in the front court? That's going to be a fun one to watch.
It's going to be a great game. Guys, stay with us. When we return, we're going to have Coach Joe Kuligoski from Panola with us in the spotlight.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. We are honored today to have the head pony, Coach Joe Kuligowski from Panola with us. Coach, thank you so much for joining the program.
I appreciate you guys. It's an honor to be on the JUCO Jam. Been waiting for this for a while.
Nick, I think it's
Uh,
lead pony. I think the phrase is lead pony, not
Lead
head.
pony,
He's the lead
kind
pony.
kind of like a lead guard.
Hmm.
But judging, I've done some research. I got a deep scouting report on you, Coach Joe. I know you're a stretch four, six. Yeah, I think you're the first 6'6" stretch four we've had on the program. A graduate of Eastern Illinois, a proud Panther, I'm sure. Charleston, Illinois is one of my favorite places on earth. I hope you had a wonderful experience in your 3 years or so there as a Panther. Charleston, Illinois was the first Jimmy John's. Did you get to have some Jimmy John's when you were in Charleston?
Yeah, that was probably the coolest fact I learned when I was there. Store number one, all time,
Yes.
Jimmy John's. Mr. Jimmy John himself opened it there, and now it's all over the country, like spread everywhere. So, yeah, that was open 24/7. So that was definitely the late night spot after a big win at EIU for sure.
Was
So
it?
I've spent some time there all throughout southern and central Illinois, and I know originally you're from the Chicagoland area. You know pizza. And I want you to settle one of the great debates in that area. Are you a
Oh,
poly eyes fan or monocles? How do you differentiate between the two of those great Southern Central Illinois pizza places?
So the hardest part is, do you like deep dish or you don't? Um, some people say deep dish isn't even a pizza, it's a pie or whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, it's almost like a Jordan LeBron debate at that point when you're dealing with pizza in the Chicagoland area. Personally, my favorite, those aren't even like, I love monocles, but by far, like, before I die meal is deep dish Giordano's pizza. That'll always be my number one, and I'll go to my grave saying that. So I'm a deep dish guy myself, but like the tavern style Chicago pizza, like Monocle's thin crust is amazing.
I have a lot of respect for you because you're a Chicagoland guy that can enjoy the thin and crispy. So I just think that shows a lot of diversity in your game. You can go a lot of places. And I think that leads us into your roster today. I think you have a lot of versatile pieces on your team. Coy Thurman, Wako Tessima. It's kind of who's the point guard, who's the two guard. It doesn't matter. Anel St. Bernard. I see him as just a guy that can guard 1 through 4. I was talking with the Division I coach, and he asked me who should I recruit from Panola. I was like, recruit all of them. He was like, well, what position would they play? Like, it doesn't matter. They're 6'5" ish. Just put them on the floor. They're good. They'll be good to go. So talk a little bit about kind of your roster construction and what you enjoy about, specifically the starting five that you've put together, which to me is just a lot of interchangeable pieces with CJ Worsham inside.
Well, first off, now I'm gonna have to compare each of my players to a different pizza place, so that's like gonna be the perfect analogy to get them recruited. But yeah, that's kind of how we built this roster. It was tough because we lost Vianney Salachim and Yafet Mundi, and as both of you guys know, finding a solid five-man at the JUCO level isn't the easiest job in the world. So we got really, really lucky. We got CJ Worsham late. He was actually going to go the prep route, and we kind of convinced him, hey, if you come here for 2 years because he was a non-qualifier, this could really change your life. So having an undersized, skilled five-man like CJ Worsham's really, really hard to find at this level. And then Coy and Wako have just been awesome throughout the preseason. They figured out how to play well together. On the ball, off the ball, you put it perfectly. We kind of mix it up so they're both decision makers, both playmakers. And then Anel St. Bernard, which you guys know very well, just being a JA48 selection, he just does whatever you want to win the game. He just impacts winning at a high level. If he needs to score that day, he will, but he'll block shots, rebounds, guard 1 through 5, whatever you need to do. That kid will run through a wall for you. So Indiana State recruited him for that reason because he's a winner. So they know what they're getting when they get an L. St. Bernard.
And then, the one guy you didn't mention, Travis Terrain, at moments looks like one of the best, shooters in junior college basketball to give you that big dynamic wing, which the teams that generally go well, do well in Hutch, make it to the Final Four, win national champions. They need that 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", wing guy who can hit those big shots.
terrain train.
The terrain train, as you guys like to put it. Yeah, he was on a roll. It was pretty funny when we got to Pensacola. I kind of let our guys know it's like, hey, we're 5 games into the season. Guys are going to scout us a little bit now. The Florida teams did not let Travis Terrain breathe the whole week. Didn't even let him catch the ball half the time. So it was different for our offense trying to adjust to that because, yeah, Travis lit it up against South Plains, and he had some really good games in the Jamborees and stuff like that as well. But it really helps when you have multiple guys who are shooting over 40% from three, and Travis is one of those guys. And being at 6'8", a guy that can stretch the floor like that, he's been incredible up to this point.
6'8", there you go. I was underselling him. Talk to me a little bit about your schedule, and just for the fans out there, right? You open up the season with Southwest Mississippi, who has Tyleek Weeks, who's an incredible basketball player, and then right you transition to South Plains and Howard, and the East-West shootout, and then you go to Florida, play 3 Panhandle teams. So I mean, right out of the gate, you played 6 really tough games. You didn't have to do that. I think that separates you, from the pack. And I think when it comes to the end of the day for an at-large selection or seeding to be one of those top 8 seeds, I think it's a huge advantage for you. But I know people are really concerned with win-loss records. You made the conscious decision to go out and play the best schedule that you possibly could. What went into that thought process?
So it got adjusted a little bit with Region 14. The first 2 years I was at Panola, we played 19 league games, so we had 11 non-conference games. With Jacksonville and Victoria leaving Region 14 or discontinuing their men's basketball programs, we decided to vote in the offseason to play everyone twice. So we have 22 league games, and I'm like, shoot, now we only have 8 non-conference games. 2 years ago, we didn't make it to Hutch with the sole reason being our non-conference schedule was not good enough. So last year, I learned from that lesson when I got my first year as a head coach. Said, hey, we need to get on the road. We need to play neutral site games. We need to play ranked teams if possible. Because like you guys said at the end of the year, that your resume speaks volumes. Who did you play outside of your league schedule? So this year, with only 8 games, it was a little tough. I'm not going to lie, but shout out to Coach Schmidt with Southwest Mississippi coming down and playing us. We're going to return that game for them next year, so I really appreciate him coming to our place. The East-West Challenge is always random, so this year when I saw South Plains and Howard, I was like, that's a tough draw. It ended out being a really good weekend for us, luckily. And then the Pensacola trip we did last year, and that was a really good event for us. We went to the one after Thanksgiving, but the Thanksgiving one this year, you saw the list of teams. That was like a Hutchinson environment. It was like game after game, you get to see Chipola, Trinity Valley. Oh, now you're watching like Jones and Gulf Coast, and now you're watching Panola, Tallahassee. Like every game was a Hutch type environment. And that's something I wanted to expose our guys to, because then at the end of the year, they'll be battle tested and prepared for moments like that. And last kind of note on the schedule, if you would have told us we were 7-1 after those 8 games, I would probably take that 10 times out of 10 because I was being realistic with my team. I said, hey, we're going to take some punches and some bruises. These first 8 games we're playing 4 or 5 of the best teams in the country. So for us to be 7-1, I'm really, really proud of our guys.
Yeah, the ponies are definitely off, to a great start. But, in your background, you're all about winning, right? Your junior year of college at Eastern Illinois, you start 5 games. You guys go 5-0 during that stretch. And I guess Eastern Illinois got too comfortable with winning and they said enough of that. So maybe this is the year, Panola goes out, wins a national championship. And, Eastern Illinois, that's a place where there's frequent coaching changes. Maybe they're looking for the next guy. Maybe they go out, bring in a young, good-looking 6'6" graduate who can reinvigorate the program. So, Panther sports fans, this could
native
be
son home. Bring him home.
Bring him home. And you're probably close enough they can get that Giordano's down to you.
Yeah, Charles, that would be a blessing. The fact that you knew that I started 5 games in a row and we won, you got to call my old head coach Jay Spoonhour. He's at Missouri State doing some NIL stuff right now. But I talked to him about that. I said, Coach, if you want to win, you got to keep me in the lineup, brother. Like, what are we doing here? So
Jay Spoonhour, you could do something that Jay did. Jay coached he was his first year head coach, wins a national title at Wabash Valley. He got too comfortable there and he had to move on. So maybe you could be the next, Jay Spoonhour, get a national title there in Panola, go to Charleston. I could see a nice banner, about a 40-foot banner hanging on the side of Old Main, right? That beautiful Old Main in the middle of campus. Joe Kuligoski, right there. The prodigal Panther has returned.
Wow. I think you're giving
What's your agent situation look like? Is he working as hard for you as I am?
No, I think I found my agent. So after the Zoom call is over, I'll be calling your cell phone number, Nick. So,
all right. So one last question for you. What do you want to see from your group between now and the end of the season that you think you guys need to improve on the most to win a national title?
I would just say a constant effort defensively. Just my background. Probably one of the most eye-opening experience I had was when I was a grad assistant at UCF, and I was under Johnny Dawkins, and I was lucky enough to be a part of the group that had Taco Fall, Aubrey Dawkins, BJ Taylor. That was the group that lost in the round of 32 against Duke, against that Zion team. Is one of the greatest basketball experiences I've ever been a part of. But Coach Dawkins just opened my eyes completely to the defensive side of things. And one thing that I think Trinity Valley is doing an exceptional job is just multiple efforts on the defensive end, and they do it for a full 30 seconds, where I think our guys understand how hard you have to play, but putting in a full 30 seconds multiple times, multiple possessions in a row, it's probably one of the hardest things to do in basketball. I've had the luxury with this team where we have a little bit more shooting than other teams that I've coached in the years past. So I think for us to actually be a championship type level, it has to be wanted and has to start on the defensive end. So after the loss to Northwest Florida, that's what we really honed in on Saturday, our first practice after we got back from that trip. And as league play starts, just ball screen coverages, sprinting back in transition defense, rebounding like men, grabbing the ball with two hands, just those little details that get overlooked sometimes that a lot of players don't want to do. I think that's what it's going to take for this team to win a championship. And at the end of the year, I don't want to look back and say, hey, it could have been a better effort doing this, this, and this. We're trying to get on our P's and Q's with all the defensive details right now.
Well, Coach, he said that was your last question, but it's not. Anybody that's watched this show knows it's not, because the hardest question.
It was my last question. I'm going to let you cross-examine you, Brandon.
Yeah, cross-examination, counselor. So after one of these big wins, you've decided that the boys have earned something special, and so you pull into what can only be described as the Mecca of the Midwest, Chili's, and you get your pick of the menu. What are you having at Chili's after the big win?
Ooh, gosh, their menu's loaded. It's almost like the pony roster, right, Nick?
Yeah.
No wrong answers.
Across the board. It's strong.
The last time we got Chili's, hopefully I don't get made fun of for getting this, but I might be saying it wrong. There's like no, it is. It is a grill. There's grilled chicken in it, and you could get shrimp if you want, but is it the Cajun creamy pasta or something like that? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I think that's our first creamy pasta. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go to the website here, pull up the menu.
Yeah, we haven't had a pasta yet.
It's Cajun something, but the pasta's phenomenal. That would probably be my post championship meal if we're lucky enough to do that.
What do we got in there, Coach? A fettuccine noodle of some sort? Are we doing penne? What? I don't.
It was penne. It was penne.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Comes
What are you washing that down with?
Comes with a little side of bread too, I believe. But one of those strawberry teas that they have there. I'm gonna go with the strawberry tea.
A nice choice. I'm a blackberry tea guy myself, but there's no wrong answers at Chili's. There's no wrong answers. Coach, we thank you so much for joining us today on JUCO Jam. We wish you and all of the Panola family a wonderful holiday season and just continued success throughout the year, and looking forward to seeing you back in Hutchinson in March.
Appreciate it, guys. It was an honor to be on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. When we come back, we will jump into the grind.
As the second largest intercollegiate athletic association in the country, the NJCAA serves not only a pivotal role in college athletics, but in higher education. The NJCAA Foundation aims to move the association forward through resources, grant programs, and other special initiatives. Your gift to the NJCAA Foundation will make a difference and create opportunities.
What makes a life a good one? Is it our adventures? Or the friends we find along the way? Is it the challenges we conquer together? Maybe it's the people's lives we touch every single day. So, what makes a life a good one? You'll have to figure that one out for yourself.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. We are now going to get into the grind where we feature one of the best players in junior college basketball this season, which today we're going to talk about Will Casey from Indian Hill, 6'8", 190 pounds from France, the big athletic lefty. I know he's one of your favorite players to watch. He attacks the rim. What do you like most about Will Casey?
The thing I love most about Will Casey is hearing Russ W. Oker get so flippin' excited when Will just goes down and tomahawks on somebody. I mean, it's full Russ W. Oker explosion. It's fantastic. Will is like the poster child for a movement that's happening in basketball in general and is happening in junior college and will continue to happen and expand where French players that are long and athletic and skilled and play with big time motor and all that sort of stuff are coming to play American basketball. They're coming to Division One. They're coming to junior college. They're coming to all levels of college basketball, and they're going to dominate the first round of the NBA draft next year, like they did this year as well. It's so interesting to see. They have one of the best amateur leagues in the world. Their Pro A and Pro B U21 league that Will played in and was very good in. Now, obviously, that transition to American basketball and especially to junior college basketball can be tough. And Will tell you himself that he had some trials and tribulations last year in just lots of things, right? Like culture. You come from Paris, France to Ottumwa, Iowa. Like, who's that? Who's not going to have some culture shock? With that. Now, if they'd have maybe fed him some more Morgan's Corner cheeseburgers right off the bat, he probably would have been fine. But they didn't know. So, really coming into his own this year, he's going to be a top 5 to 10 player in junior college by the end of the season. And just a lot of fun to watch because he's like a powder keg out there. At any given moment, something, exciting may happen.
He's got a little Sean Marion in him for sure. I mean, you can just kind of the way they play, the size, the athleticism, um, the quirky shot. There's just a little bit of Sean Marion in there. Transitioning to a player that had success at the junior college level and is doing terrific at the Division One level is one of your favorite players, Jason Edwards. His story is incredible. Started off at an NAIA school, then goes to Dodge City to North Texas to Vanderbilt. And at Vanderbilt, he is doing wonderful, averaging about 16 points a game. He's shooting close to 90% from the free throw line. I mean, he just continues to strive and get better every single season. Talk about Mr. Edwards. And if I missed a school out in there, I apologize. I think I got the order correct.
Yeah, he was at Miles College his freshman year and redshirted. Not because, academics or whatever. They just, well, he's this little guard because, he's listed at 6'1", but someone may want to grab the tape measure on that one. But, one of my favorite players ever in junior college basketball because he just doesn't care about what size he is or what they say he is or whatever. He just goes chest to chest with anybody, and now he's doing it in the SEC. He's also hilarious because he loves nothing more than to FaceTime me with Tyler Perry or Yaxel or whatever and argue about who was the better player in junior college and just put me on the spot to say, I was better though, right? And I'm like, you guys have got to be kidding me. But he's fantastic. And to see him take that step up, that is hard to do, man. There are so many players now in this transfer age that move up drastically like that, and you never hear from them again. And so, I think there was a lot of people that like always have with Jason where they said, well, he's not capable of making this kind of advancement. You can't go from NAIA, uh, uh, is Miles NAIA or D2? I don't remember, but redshirting to then playing in the Jayhawk on a top program in the Jayhawk. Oh shoot, he did. Okay. Well, North Texas, I mean, they've had unbelievable guards. They've been to the NCAA tournament. He can't possibly make that. Oh, he did make that leap up.
You were correct, Brandon. Division Two.
Division
I was
two. Uh, and now to Vanderbilt in the SEC and still performing. So I know there will be a whole bunch of people that will say, well, then when it comes time for him to be a pro, he can't possibly make that leap. I wouldn't bet against him.
He's just a winner. He's done really well everywhere that he's been, and certainly one of our favorite guys to follow. Guys, stay with us. When we return, we'll have our closing thoughts on the sixth man.
Intensity fuels these champion student athletes to greatness. Zurich Insurance is proud to be the official provider of student athlete insurance for the National Junior College Athletic Association. Throughout the highs, we cheer along to their screams of victory. Throughout the lows, we support them through their tears of defeat. Zurich Insurance, helping student athletes play the sport they love.
Welcome back to JUCO Jam. We're here for our closing thoughts. We call it our sixth man. Brandon, there's somebody that you really want to talk about and tell their story. Go ahead.
Yeah, is you and I get the benefit of talking to these coaches and these kids and getting to know them, and hearing their stories, and on the flip side of that, also hearing nonsense a lot of times, right? Kids just not wanting to battle through things and tripping themselves up, self-sabotaging, whatever, and it's super frustrating. Um, in general, but it's extra super frustrating for me, I think, sometimes because I've seen the far drastic other side of the haves and the have-nots, and people with advantages in life and things like that. And so I want to shine a little highlight on a player at Monroe named Chalaka Godswill. We call him Muna, but I met him in Nigeria, and he played in the same camp that Gideon George did. He was in high school at the time, and we tried really hard to get him over here for school in high school. And the visa process over there is a nightmare. Just you can't even imagine how difficult it is. And he was actually approved a visa, and what they do is they take your passport and they say, come back in 5 days and we'll give you your visa and then you can go. So this kid, he was 16 at the time, I think, was told that you're going to play high school basketball in America and everything's all set. And somebody over there heard about him being approved and contacted the embassy and got it canceled because they wanted to try and control his, basketball journey, I guess. So he went to pick up his passport, a 16-year-old kid by himself, traveling to the embassy and being told, no visa for you, dude. Now, fortunately, after a lot of work and some help, some other people were able to get him a visa finally and was able to come over here and did play a year of high school basketball, and then was recruited to go to Monroe. And he was doing great and everything was fantastic. And then last year, right at the very beginning of the year, he tore his Achilles. And so a kid that has fought through all of these things, think about being told that you're going to have this life-changing basketball journey, and then it's literally taken away from you across the counter, by some American embassy worker. And then you finally make it, and then you suffer an injury that's horrifically painful, is incredibly difficult to rehab through and overcome. And he is now playing at Monroe this year and just had his best game against Allegheny. He had 12 points the other night as he's getting back into the swing of things. And so I look at Muna's story and want to tell everybody that, look, there are a lot of things you're going to have to overcome in this junior college basketball journey that you're on. But I promise you, there are other people that have incredible, difficult things that they have to overcome as well. And just bearing down and keeping your nose to the grindstone and all those other cliches, we mean it. when we say it, because what can come out the other end can be so incredibly beneficial for you. And so, just keeping your head on straight and staying locked in, and think about people like Muna, the things that he had to overcome to get to where he's at now. Those are the kinds of stories we like to see and focus on.
Yeah, Brandon, thank you so much for sharing that story about Muna, and we wish Muna the best, and hoping that he's enjoying his time here in America, and we're so thankful to have him. But Brandon, another great episode in the books. We have another amazing slate of junior college basketball action. Hopefully, we've given everyone some games to mark on their calendar. We highlighted 10 games. Make sure you watch them. We'll talk about them next week. Brandon, hope you and everyone out there has a great sports week, and we'll see you this time next week.